All right, welcome back to another episode of Knicks Morning Coffee Recap. And today we're just going to spend a few minutes talking about the Knicks midterm grades and then also what are the keys going down the stretch so that we can finish the season strong and then maybe end up in a position that we want to be in as a whole. All right, but first, like, comment, subscribe. All right, let's get to it. All right, tonight is the midway point that starts the second half of the season. Now, granted, there are only 28 games left. And those 28 games, those are usually where Tibbs do his best work, the end of the season. All right, but in terms of the midterm grades, individually and as a team, well, I as a team give us a B-. And the reason why I do that, although now we sit third in the East, and if we had to also count the whole totality of the NBA, we sit third in the West. So 5th to 6th seed is not bad for a New York team that hasn't seen this type of light before. Now, we did end the season in second place last year, but this is a whole nother ball game, whole nother parity of competition. All right, but my B- comes from not so much the way we played, more so than the teams that we beat. We have to rise to the occasion against the top level teams. I mean, we dusting off everybody else. But those top level teams, and particularly when it's a nationally televised game, we're not showing up. And that's what we have to do to convince people that we are legitimate contenders. So when we go up against the likes of Cleveland or Boston or, one of those type teams, OKC, when the game is on the line and it's a Friday night, a Sunday afternoon, prime time when everybody's watching, not yet this season have we produced. Now, we said it's a marathon and not a sprint, but we have to show nationally, the New York media, we know what we have. But nationally, we're not showing those teams that we belong. And that's what our last 28 games, to me, also have to focus on. But that B- is not bad, all right, considering the past Knicks teams that may fold at the end. Now, I also look at the individual, and I give a lot of our guys high marks individually. And those high marks come from the consistency that we've been able to display, for these first 50-plus games. Nobody can take away from our competitiveness when we're going up against these teams. Even when we find ourselves behind in closing minutes of the game, we are finding a way to come back and win. And that's kudos to the Knicks and the organization for being able to put this type of team together, to help us be able to do that. So I would give a whole lot. I mean, I don't really give anybody an A. Maybe Brunson get an A-. I don't, and that's mostly for his leadership, more so much too than his play. But we're collectively as a team, we're finding each other and we're finding ways to get by, even when it's stacked up against us that particular night. Because let's face it, for 82 games, nobody's going to bring it every single night. But the one thing you can bring is effort, and we're bringing effort. And for the first time in these past few years, the Knicks are able to put effort along with the talent. We've always had effort, playing hard. This is going back to the Patrick Ewing days. We just always never had enough talent around the board. And this time we got that. So to me, there's a whole lot of B's going around this Knicks team, from our starters to our bench guys. And there's no need even to get into all the names because we know who the Knicks are. And we know how consistently they have been playing, and people have been finding their roles, accepting their roles. And when it's their time to step up, the team has been rallying around that. So we're in a good place for the second half of the season. Now, when I look at what are some of the keys going down the stretch, and I keep coming back to the same four, to a degree. And then one, and that's the team staying healthy. Like, you're not going anywhere if your team is not healthy. I know we did well last year with some major injuries, but those major injuries were out for so long that it really didn't affect our play, totally. It might have hurt us in the second round of the playoffs, but for us to get to a second seed last year, we can't say the injuries hurt us because we've never gotten that far before. All right, so staying healthy is a huge key, and also getting healthy is a huge key. The other thing is bringing Mitch back strong, because our season is going to start and end when he starts. All right, and that's where it's going to take us, because the things that Mitch brings to the table, the second chance points because of his offensive rebounding, the defensive clogging of the middle. I mean, he won't stop every layup from coming in, but he will alter a whole lot of them, and he will change the minds of people as they're driving. So now when they drive and kick, we're going to have our defenders home because Mitch is down there, and that's going to be huge for us. And then not even the putback dunks and pick and roll alley-oops that he'll get. But just having him back in there is going to save us 10 points a game. And because of his offensive rebounding and blocking shots, it's going to add 10 or 15 more points to us a game. So that's going to be huge for the Knicks of getting Mitchell Robinson back healthy and strong. Strong is the key, because just having him there is not enough. He's got to get his mobility back, his fluidity back, his timing back. All right, his rhythm will come with all of those three things. But when we get Mitch back and we have all those type of things, then we're going to be fine. The other thing is, because of the apron, we're not able to go out and get a really good player going down the stretch. But we have one in our own backyard. I think we should bring up T.J. Warren when March 1st comes and we're able to give that veteran minimum. I believe, unless something crazy happens, I believe it should go to him. And forget about what he's doing in the G League. Just put up 47 points. But he's a proven scorer in this league. And certain things come back to players. And he'll be able to come off our bench in the playoffs when needed. You know, we're not expecting to take minutes from anybody. But when needed, he'll be able to come in and find the bucket regardless of who's on the floor. It's some guys that when the ball's in their hand, it's just between them, the ball, and the basket, and he's one of those type of guys. And his guy will have to run plays for him. He'll know how to get his buckets in the flow of the offense. And he's 6'8", and when we decide to go big or small, we can still use him. And again, he's only an insurance piece, but he is a piece that when things start looking sluggish, which they will, we'll have somebody to turn to that we can just dump the ball into, and they can just go get a bucket. And sometimes it's just that simple. Sometimes it's not about the plays. It's not about what you do. Hustling is not about. Sometimes it's just guys who are able to get a bucket. And he has that Carmelo Anthony type thing about him that he can get that ball in the basket. All right. And then the other one for me would be, as a team, continue for Tibbs to keep your foot on their neck. All right. Don't let up, because we've seen that we finished in great standings the past couple of years, but for some reason we can't get out of the second round. So we can't take nothing for granted. We still need to be a little bit critical of our team, even though we want to enjoy what the Knicks are doing this year. But Tibbs got to keep his foot on their neck, because we have to also remember to keep recognizing, now we're playing good as a team, but to recognize the games within the games, that when somebody is hot and they also have the mismatch and those things are working together, we have to ride it 5-6 plays at a time. Let's make the other team adjust to us. We know when we're clicking as a unit, the way that ball pops around, but sometimes that's not going to help you. Sometimes you get into a rut in the course of a game and you have to dig your way out. And I think by having a guy like T.J. Warren and having guys that when they have the mismatch, like i.e. when OG has the mismatch, and we exploit that and he's hot, then we have to recognize that as we're running up the floor when we get a defensive rebound. All right, so those are just some of the things I think that going down the stretch that we will be fine, but we still have to pay attention to little details. And I'd like to know, too, you know, what do y'all think? And what grade would you give the Knicks? It's got to be high because we in third place. But at the same time, we have to finish the season strong, and we have to go into the playoffs with the mindset that we can beat anybody. All right? And, you know, until next time, peace.